Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the PowerON Pulse DMS Device Management and Security presentation we have for you this afternoon. My name is Chris Lim. I'm the Product Director here at PowerON, and joining me today is Steve Beaumont, who's the Development Director and Microsoft MVP. So let's get started with the agenda, and we'll take you through what we are going to speak about today. So first up, we're going to take a look at the current industry shifts that we see around the market. We're a professional services and a product business. We'll take you through what we see changing with respect to device management and security at the moment. We're also going to touch on what are some of the Microsoft approaches to some of these challenges that we see. Next, we're going to introduce Pulse DMS as an online service. We're going to take you through a technical demonstration. We're also going to touch some of the licensing, trial options, and Q&A at the end. So let's take a quick look at some of the shifts that we're seeing. Now, firstly, your organization may or may not be seeing some of these trends, but certainly for many of our customers who speak with, these trends seem to resonate. Firstly, we look at the increasing requirements from businesses for flexible working, enhanced mobility, and greater collaboration between both internal and external teams. Supporting an increasing number of devices outside the organization can become a challenge, not to mention frontline service desk staff having to support and troubleshoot any device issues which are not network connected. From a security perspective, we are seeing this place greater strain on both people, technology, and processes on how to manage these devices in an increasing threat exposure. Which leads us on to data leaks and targeted attacks. We saw recently with the WannaCry cyber attack, which affected many government and corporate organizations, and most significantly the NHS, which targeted vulnerabilities in the OS and affected unpatched devices. This shift has seen a 50% increase in ransomware incidents reported in the last 12 months, with many analysts citing that data breaches and cyber attacks are inevitable, with average costs of data breach globally now standing at £3.1 million. Compliance and regulation has always been a core part of many device management policies and management requirements, and we're seeing an increase in customers looking for ways to support the GDPR, ISO 27001, and other regulatory initiatives. So let's take a moment to review the current and future strategy of Microsoft management. In the classical model here is the traditional on-premise infrastructure management. In the context of device management, this is on-premise Active Directory Configuration Manager or SCCM, and associated group policy management. Hybrid introduces Windows Intune and cloud-based device management capabilities, connected with on-premise config manager, which Microsoft commonly refers to as co-management. Modern and future models push further into pure online management services such as Azure Active Directory and looking at WAN connectivity, device management outside the corporate network. As we move from classic through to future, the underpinning application estate transfers from heavily Windows 32-bit on-premise applications to an increased use of SaaS applications, negating the requirement for remote software distribution capabilities. However, there is a gap that Microsoft recognizes themselves. This gap is one of the key reasons why we built Pulse DMS. The gap from Microsoft is the ability to deliver rich enterprise management capabilities of the classic model, but with the benefits of managing from the cloud to manage the increasing remote working styles of the modern workplace. With gaps in the technical capabilities of Microsoft Intune to deliver against these requirements, Pulse DMS was developed as an online subscription service with all of the rich on-premise management tools of Configuration Manager, but with the benefits of managing devices from the cloud, no on-premise infrastructure, and a subscription model. PowerON works closely with Microsoft, and in the UK, the Microsoft product groups and the Modern Workplace team are working closely with us to help Microsoft customers provide a solution that identifies this gap. So allow me to introduce you to Pulse DMS. I'll start with taking you through a high-level overview of the capabilities, how it architecturally compares with on-premise solutions, and then we'll go through a demonstration of the service itself with Steve. As mentioned, Pulse DMS is designed to provide all of the on-premise capabilities of Configuration Manager, but delivered from the cloud. This enables us to improve security and device management capabilities specifically to remote devices which rarely touch the internal network, which is a common challenge to organizations running on-premise Configuration Manager infrastructures. Pulse DMS is built on Azure platform, Azure Active Directory, and Configuration Manager current branch, with integration into Microsoft Intune should a customer have this entitlement. We have inbuilt patch management processes in the service, allowing internet-based patching to keep entire organizations secure, whether they be a handful of users or large distributed corporate organizations. Equally, managing mixed estates of Windows 7, 8, and 10 is a breeze, while delivering a rich policy and configuration management across the organization. As a pre-provisioned platform similar to Office 365, migrating to Pulse DMS is a fast onboarding process, allowing our customers to focus on configuring the Windows image, configuration, and policy settings as opposed to maintaining the underpinning infrastructure such as management servers, distribution points, and cloud access gateways. To further improve speed to value of the platform, we have introduced a web interface specifically for service desk staff to perform common tasks with key information at their fingertips. This not only improves training instead of using the Configuration Manager console, but improves end-user support response. With the cloud-based service, frontline support have more tools to support workers outside their network, including operating system deployments and software distribution and task sequencing. Pulse DMS is built on Microsoft Azure for performance and availability, and as a subscription service requires no on-premise infrastructure or maintenance. So if we take a look at a high level of how this compares to classic and hybrid models, we can see the benefits of our Pulse customers achieve with the service. Classic and hybrid on-premise based delivery models contain a range of training, hardware, and software maintenance, but equally the responsibility of the underpinning platform lies within the organization. Pulse DMS on the right empowers our customers to focus more on the capabilities of the platform that the service can deliver, such as increasing workforce productivity for end users and IT, accelerating deployments for Windows 10, and securing devices across the organization irrespective of location. The architecture compared to classic and hybrid models that we presented in the Microsoft slides is simple. Pulse DMS simply takes Configuration Manager and delivers it from Azure as a service, with improved portal access and bandwidth acceleration technologies to enable true remote device management. Pulse DMS can also be connected to an organization's Microsoft Intune subscription, allowing faster user onboarding and longer term providing our customers with a bridge to solely managing using Intune once their estate is on Windows 10 and as Intune security and management capabilities improve to deliver against their needs. So with this, I'll hand you over to my colleague Steve Beaumont, who will take you through a demonstration of Pulse DMS, and I'll see you after the demo.
Thanks, Chris. So I just want to go through a few different areas of the Pulse DMS service. Now, one of the things that's obviously most important in people's minds at the minute is about increasing that productivity side. Now, how we can do it from both the end user perspective, get them up and running as quick as possible, and also from the IT admin perspective to make the business more efficient. So I'm just going to bring up one of my VMs that I've just onboarded into the DMS service. So I took this VM through the out-of-box experience, it onboarded into Azure Active Directory, pulled down the DMS client stuff via the MDM channels, and now it's enabled for enterprise management. Now the first thing from an end user's perspective, they just want to get on and use the device. So we make sure that we push down the relevant applications for your organisation. Anything that's particularly important, line of business applications, things like Office, maybe you want to use Google Chrome rather than Edge, etc. So the user can actually start to be productive right from the outset of having that new machine that's been managed. Now, obviously, there's going to be extra applications that the user wants. So it's this idea that we now have a software center where we can build up a range of applications that the user can peruse, search for, decide what they need to be able to get the job done. Little things like making sure that we have the drivers available for the docking stations, so USB docks. Obviously, we don't use that on a VM, so maybe this user wants to use something like Firefox. So they get the option to come in here and they can install it through a very easy one-click operation. Now this user doesn't have admin rights, but we're getting around that by actually delivering a managed application install. So we don't have to worry about having all these users with the admin rights that they could then potentially install stuff themselves that isn't approved by IT or accidentally go and install malware on the devices. So that's busy now downloading the content, and that will begin the installation. Now another thing that's about productivity side is making sure that we don't interrupt. There we go, Firefox now lovely installing. We make sure that we don't want to interrupt their workflow throughout the day. So patching has always been a challenge. So we granularly control the levels that we deploy patches out to the end users and control the when, the where and the how. So we can either make it super silent, sneak them on in the background, maybe install them during the working days but without any interaction or notification, and then only allow the reboots to happen outside of working hours. Now sometimes we want to be able to give users that feedback, that control, so we do have the actual ability to show any available updates, what status they're currently in, whether they're downloading or installing, or whether they are actually pending that reboot. And like I say, we can either have notifications popping up like this, we just had a lovely installation complete come up, or we can hide them and only let them know when a reboot is going to be required. So it's just about making sure that we don't interrupt. Now we can enable options as well about actually allowing the end users to set when their business working hours are. Now if you're daft like me, you might find that your working hours are something like 1 in the morning through until midnight or 11 o'clock, or it could be that much more typical 8 while 6 type of side, and whether you do it in the working days or not. Or you can predefine these. It's up to you as control from the administrative side, or hide them entirely. As you can see, we've just had Firefox installed, so that's all nice and shiny and ready to use. Let's get rid of that. Obviously it's on the desktop and it's there available on the start menu for end users as well. So that's from one side aspect of from the end user, getting them up and running, allowing them some flexibility to get as productive and as going as possible. Now from an IT perspective, we're going to want to have some control over these devices. So let's make a 2-minute session. So having these devices at a very quick glance, right at our fingertips, being able to see which devices are in our environment, and again it doesn't matter whether they are on our main domain or whether they are workgroup or Azure Active Directory joined devices, we can still manage them and manage them regardless of where they are. They could be on premise, they could be laptops that are roaming, sat at McDonald's. We can still do some various activities with them. Anything from having a quick look at the available inventory information on them, or being able to actually see what deployments are currently progressing to the devices, what stage they're at with any sort of operating system deployments, or be able to actually launch some remote tools. So it's having this information at our fingertips to very quickly be able to see what's going on the machines, what's installed, and how we can best support that user, or potentially perhaps launch some remote control tools to be able to actually interact with that user and assist them, as well as seeing what deployments, as I mentioned. So having all this information at our fingertips just to improve the lives of people working on like the service desk, or want to be able to get excuse me, on with enabling the users back to business as usual as quick as possible. Now from a management perspective, it's always good to be able to see that wider picture and be able to see more information about the range of devices or what's going on within the environment. So if I just bring up one of my example demo reports, there are a range of reports within the system that allow us to very easily and granularly drill down into the information around the system. Now this is obviously just around software compliance, so how can we see what's going on with the various Patch Tuesday patching routines, which we have a range of different ones that we can go filter and drill down into and see that overall picture very quick and easily, or drill down and see some of the other further devices within there. So one of the next things I want to talk around is around how we can actually see more of an increased security posture for the estate. So I mentioned patching and being able to control how we do the patching process, and that's actually done more within the wider admin console for Pulse DMS. So we have a range of different software updates. Now we could sit here trying to wade through them, filter them down, see which ones are required for the month, start picking and choosing which ones go into the environment. But as part of the DMS service, we do some of that work for you. So there's a range of different what we call automatic deployment rules. So this will go through and on a scheduled basis. So basically on the Patch Tuesday, we'll look at what updates are available, we'll bring them down, get them staged, get them ready. And then we have a range of different collections. So you as a tenant user, so I'm signed in with our tenant, can just worry about populating what we refer to as our 3 phases of collections. So phase 1 is like your canary collection, your canary collection, where you put your first test pilot machines in there, and the updates will be pushed down to them within 7 days of them being released. You can see how that goes. If everything's good, then we automatically let it roll over to phase 2, which could be a much wider section of your estate, either half your estate or much more representative of the different business units within your environment, and they will start to patch within 14 days of the release. If that all still goes good, then great, you still let it just roll over to phase 3. When we get to phase 3, it's basically your entire estate, and we let them start patching the 21-day mark after release. So there's an easy way just to let that mechanism happen. You can then replicate that with your own choice of different patches, whereas within the service we're concentrating on the OS and the Office patches right out the gate. Obviously the server side there as well if you want to patch it. Or you can then go in granularly, just if there's ad hoc patches you want to deploy, pick them out individually and make an individual deployment just for them once. Now, alongside patching, that's one way, especially as we talk around the lifecycle management of Windows 10, but there is also this ability to start to handle how you deploy out your 1709, your 1803, or whichever next wave is going to be, and start to look at how we use servicing plans. So this is how we start to control how we deploy out them full feature sets where we had 1511, 1607, 1703, now 1709. We want more granular control over when and where we deploy that. So if we had the concept of something like semi-annual, annual targeted, I can probably spell, no. Yeah, you get the idea. Semi-annual targeted channel, which was things like current branch for business, we can actually start to again define out more. So maybe we don't want a full-blown every single device at one time. We create a similar collection as we did before, so we could have a update ring phase 1. I'm just going to use one that's already within there just for speed. Yes, I know that this is a high-risk system and we're going to send it out to everything, but it allows us to start to define more granularly when updates are going to get deployed. So we could say, well fine, upon release we're going to wait a minimum of 45 days before it goes out to the first lot, and so on, and then build up another phase, and we can have a wider ring where it's going to be wait for current branch, which generally comes out 4 months, current branch for business, or which would be the semi-annual channel now, which is 4 months after the release of an OS, which is the semi-annual targeted wave. And we just again get to go through and more granularly decide what types of updates we want, when it's going to be available, when we're going to force the installation, whether users are going to see any notifications or they're just going to see a reboot prompt at the end of the online process, so it's a lot quicker and they don't have to wait for things. And then how we download it and how we distribute that out. So I covered some of the bits around the patching side, saw some of the reports and stuff that were there in place. So one of the things around the control side is that making sure that we actually granularly control the security aspects of the devices. So there's a range of things we can do with configuration items. So we have pre-built all the National Cybersecurity Centre compliance items. Make sure that those are available to you as customers to be able to actually go and view. So these are all in read-only mode at the minute. So when you decide, well fine, these are the type of things that we want to do, we want to be able to make sure that we lock down remote assistance and enable start screen, turn off autoplay, I can just go and do a copy of that, customize any granular settings that don't exactly meet my requirements, and then I deploy them out as my baseline settings for my environment. Now you could absolutely just take everything on mass that is there. It'd probably be a bit too restrictive for most organisations, but it's a very good starting point as defined by the National Cybersecurity Centre. Now on top of that is we have some of the other features that are new to Windows 10 around things like the device guard policies, the newer technologies that really do help make Windows 10 one of the most secure OSs for Microsoft, where we can very quickly go in and create some of the policy sets and enable the deployment out to our range of devices from a centralized single point, no matter where that device is, whether it is within our network boundaries or whether it is actually already out there in the wild and on somebody's either home broadband or a hotspot. Now, there would be nothing without some of the operating system side. So we do already make sure that we have both the operating systems from the RTM images, so these are the ones that get delivered by Microsoft via the ISO medias, and we also maintain and patch them in the cycle. So we have this concept of patch current month, so if you want the very latest image, it's there, it's still without any major customizations to it, it's just the inline patches, so you don't have to worry about making sure that you deploy and then patch. It's immediately patched as you use it, or if you don't want to be absolute bleeding edge, there is always one that's 1 month step behind. But these are there, ready for use in conjunction with some of the baseline security settings to make sure that you deliver a secure operating system right from the offset. Now, there's a range of different ways that we can get operating systems down. So we utilise the concept of task sequences to actually go through and actually decide how we want the steps of this operating system to be deployed. So you can either use some of our example task sequences, go through, do things like making sure that the devices are in UEFI mode, TPMs are ready for things like the encryption or the advanced security features, customize the environment so we can start to remove some of the default Microsoft stuff that we might not want within a corporate environment, make sure it's all nice and secure, things are enabled, and we can do that as either an in-place upgrade, so if an operating system is already on 64-bit OS like Windows 7 64-bit, we can take it across into Windows 10 64-bit, or maybe we want to do a refresh scenario where we're moving from a 32-bit OS to a 64-bit OS, so we can do the changing of the content on the drives, or we can even start to do what we class as bare metal builds. So we can actually do a pixie boot from your environment, pull down the content over a secure HTTPS channel, and actually then get that machine up and running. So an example of that, if I can find my right VM. So we have this VM, this is my VM, you can see at the minute it's sat there, there's no disks on the drive. So if I do a reboot, that should start to get an IP address. We pull that down from DHCP. We have a TFTP helper that points it to the internet-based service. So that should go, yep, fine. And then we get the boot menu options. So from this point, I can then either log in and authenticate and start to do a self-service deployment of the relevant OS, choose which one I want, and get that bare metal device, so something with no operating system, up and onto a task sequence level, or we can just quit out if we don't want to do it that way. Now, is my console gone? There we go. Now, another aspect to that is we are starting to see much more of a shift towards, rather than imaging, starting to do customization. So you can have what we call an onboarding task sequence. So as we take it through the out-of-box experience, leverage things like autopilot to simplify the end user experience, we can just worry about actually saying, these are the relevant applications I want installing, or I want to have this removed, I don't want the default thing that's come on there with like McAfee or Symantec antivirus, I'll strip them off, I'll put this one on, and you get into more of a routine of customizing rather than configuring. So one of the other major benefits of the Pulse DMS service is you can see quite clearly I'm using Configuration Manager, and that is in the background of all this. So we're utilising the very latest versions of Configuration Manager current branch, and we're hosting it up in the cloud for you. So there is no on-premise infrastructure. So we're reducing both the complexity of having to manage an enterprise class management tool and the costs associated with running that on-premise. So this idea that there's no knowledge needed to maintain primary sites, the SQL databases, the SQL engines, distribution points all over the place, management points, internet connectivity, how we branch out from the DMZs, and the interaction with your local Active Directories. So we're heavily leveraging links into Azure Active Directory to read information about your users, to authenticate users using Azure Active Directory authentication side. And also we're leveraging a lot of technology around the peer-to-peer and the branch cache technologies So we're not consuming all of your internet links, so we can very efficiently deliver packages down to a client with minimal impact on the bandwidth from your internet pipe scenario. So we're delivering a SaaS-based online service with all the benefits of the rich technology that Microsoft have and the enterprise experience, but leveraging things like the new cloud gateway technology to be able to connect out to devices no matter where they are, without that reliance on your infrastructure and that ability to have to maintain it. You can see here as I'm logged on with the tenant scenario, there's not even the administration tasks and stuff that you have to worry about. There's nothing to do and maintain. It's completely managed for you in that aspect. So we will use our expertise to bring the infrastructure up to the latest versions constantly, so we're constantly delivering new features as they become available in a rapid timescale, so you can benefit and just focus on consuming and delivering your internal service than maintaining and keeping the lights on. So I think with that, I'm going to hand back to Chris just to summarise and finish up. So thank you very much for your time.
So let's take a quick review on the key areas we saw Steve demonstrate where Pulse DMS online service can provide additional value beyond on-premise configuration manager. Firstly, Steve touched on increased productivity, covering both end users with the self-service portal and keeping their devices up to date and available. The web management portal also improves productivity for IT staff, being able to perform common tasks easily with improved reporting. Advanced configuration admins still have the tools they know well with access to the Configuration Manager console. Increasing security is also an important benefit with inbuilt patch management processes and for Windows 10 the OS servicing framework. The ability to ensure all devices are patched, especially ones not always connected to the organizational network, is a key benefit for security, policy, and compliance. Pulse DMS accelerates our customers' deployments of Windows 10 by using a pre-provisioned service for simple onboarding and internet-based OS imaging. Finally, Pulse DMS can reduce costs and complexity by removing the need for on-premise infrastructures while still being a familiar tool for configuration admins to configure. In summary, Pulse DMS aims to solve a number of common problems our customers have and results they are looking to achieve. Most of these problems and results are achieved by taking the enterprise management capabilities of Configuration Manager and enabling delivery of these capabilities from the cloud as a subscription service. These problems solved and results achieved with Pulse DMS have an impact on various roles across an organization. Whilst they appreciate not all organizations may have the luxury of these roles, certainly the responsibility of these key titles may be owned by key individuals within IT support. I mentioned at the start about Pulse DMS being a pre-provisioned service for increased speed to value. The onboarding process is explained in this slide. Firstly, our customer's Azure Active Directory, which is firstly a dependency of the service but also a free service from Microsoft, is connected to Pulse DMS via a simple installation. The customer's tenancy is then powered on and they are ready to start configuring their management and security settings, applications to deploy, and apps they'd like to publish in the user self-service portal. These settings can be administered from either the new web portal for advanced operators, the Config Manager console. From there, the Pulse DMS client is deployed to end devices via a multitude of different options, with the device onboarding directly to the service and ready to be managed anywhere. Whilst Pulse DMS may not meet everyone's requirements for different reasons, if you are interested in either a personalized demonstration or trial, we can absolutely help. Our free trials are fully working production subscriptions for 30 days with 3-month POC licenses and specific 6-month Windows 10 migration licenses available. And if you need any help with any part of the process, we have quick start engagements to assist with configuration and training. One of the key benefits of Pulse DMS is having no on-premise infrastructure and the ongoing management and associated maintenance. Pulse DMS provides a subscription service based on the number of devices managed, either servers or desktop. Similar to Office 365, for customers with specific security requirements, we offer a dedicated tenancy option too. Pulse DMS is designed to be a flexible subscription model with our customers able to increase or decrease their subscription commitment. Starting from £2.85 per device per month for the first 500 devices, Pulse DMS reduces in price significantly with increasing device bands. I appreciate Pulse DMS may not be for everyone, and certainly there are many reasons to keep your management infrastructure on premise. However, if you are interested in finding out how we can help, please get in touch and we'll happily provide a personalized demonstration, and if you are interested, a free trial. So on behalf of myself, Steve, and the entire PowerON team, I want to thank you for your time, and please do reach out to us if you have any questions at all. Also, stay tuned for our new website launching, which has other new cloud management products too. With that said, we've covered a lot in this presentation, so I'm sure there will be some questions. At this point, I'd like to open up the floor to any questions for myself or Steve about the presentation.